Hi, welcome to our pre-calculus. Topic today is solving a right triangle. Uh, there is such a thing as solving a general triangle. A general triangle has three sides, three angles. Certain relationships exist between these six quantities, and there the question is, if some of them are given, can you find the others? That is what we are going to be looking at in the upcoming sections. Right now we are focusing on a right triangle. Right triangle, the situation is significantly simpler. So one angle is already 90 degrees. This angle, whatever it is, the other one would be 90 degrees minus this one, because the sum of all angles has to be 180 degrees. And the relationship between the sides and this angle are straightforward. Sine of theta, we have repeated this thing since many weeks ago. This is, of course, the opposite of the angle divided by the hypotenuse, and cosine is the adjacent of the angle divided by hypotenuse, and the tangent is ratio of the opposite of the angle divided by its adjacent. These functions are available on a calculator, and their inverse is also available. So we can find an angle by applying an inverse function to these ratios. So let's go ahead, take a look at some of these problems. Here's a triangle conveniently drawn for us in a horizontal vertical formation, but that doesn't have to be the case. A triangle can be drawn any direction. Our procedure would be all the same. So you see that here this is given as a hypotenuse, an angle is given, and there are some quantities labeled, and we are asked to find them. So A will be the angle, the other angle of the right triangle. So if this is 41 degrees, of course then you say 90 minus 41, and that is what, 49 degrees. So this will be 49 degrees here. Now this is 49 degrees. Now we are going to go after the sides. How about A and B? It is best to ignore the angle that we just found and work on the basis of the information that was given. So this angle was 41, this is 27. The question is, what is A? And what we want to do is to form a relationship between these three quantities. Okay, the ones that are given and the one that's required. So we say, with respect to this angle, this constitutes an adjacent side, and that's of course always the hypotenuse. So I have cosine of 41 degrees is equal to adjacent divided by hypotenuse. Now we cross multiply, so this becomes 27 cosine of 41 degrees. So the only thing left to do is to do the multiplication. You want to be careful that when you are using the Alex calculator, you set it on the degree mode, and then you'll be all set. How about B? Well, let's go ahead, look at the situation again. This was given, this was given, this is what is required. Now we ask, what's the relationship between these three quantities? Well, with respect to this 41 degree, this constitutes the opposite. So opposite comes up in the definition of the sine. Sine is opposite divided by hypotenuse. So it's not with horizontal or vertical, it's opposite or adjacent. So now we go ahead and say sine of 41 degrees is equal to B over 27, and of course B is going to be 27 times sine of 41 degrees. These problems, we always have multiple ways of arriving at the answer. For example, I could have used 41 A and B after I have found A and say tangent of 41 is B over A. Then I had to use this number that's probably not a nice looking number, so This one is preferred because the numbers, the given numbers, are easy to remember numbers. We are not going to make a mistake on entering them on a calculator and such. So even though there are other ways of doing this thing, you want to use the one that is least error prone, least amount of work. Another approach you could take for B was to say, well, I use the Pythagorean theorem that B is the square root of 27 squared minus A squared. So once you find the A, you can put it here and find your B. But again, the A here is not going to be a nice looking number. You have to struggle to remember the digits and so on, and decide how many digits of it you want to keep. So even though this is possible, in practice it's error prone, and you're better off with most straightforward use of the existing of the given information, and that is the safest approach to take. Here's another example, very similar. So the orientation of our triangle is a bit different, but this angle is again is easy. It's so 90 minus 53, and then so 37 degrees, and then this angle is given. We want to find A. This is the opposite of that, and this is the adjacent of it. So what formula is going to connect these three to each other? So this is given, this is given. We want to find that. We say, well, if I was calculating tangent of 53 degrees, it would have been written as 28 over A. Is that right? Now, multiply by A. You say A tangent of 53 is 28. So A becomes 28 over tangent of 53 degrees. So that is going to settle the issue. You could directly go from here to here by saying I exchange these two. If you have two fractions equal to each other, like if you have A over B, let me write some other variables so it doesn't so if you have a fraction is equal to some other fraction, you can rewrite it in numerous ways. One of them is to exchange numerator of one with the denominator of the other one. So you can write S over Y is equal to R over X, and you can keep these exchanges up and make many different kind of equalities. So here, if you wanted to be quick, you say, okay, I exchange these two. This is, of course, in the numerator of this fraction. A comes here and tangent goes to the bottom. Okay, that is one end of the story. We also want to find C. So again, let's remember, we have a picture like this. This is given as 53 degrees. This is given at 28. And this is the hypotenuse we are trying to find. So again, we ask, what's the relationship between these three items? So the given information at the beginning of the problem, if it's possible, we use those. So with respect to this angle, what is that? That's of course opposite, and this is hypotenuse. So what relationship connects angle, opposite, and hypotenuse? That's of course sine. Sine of 53 degrees is the opposite, which is 28, divided by the hypotenuse, which is C. So let's apply this trick that we learned here. 23, is that 23 or 28? I'm becoming a victim of my own handwriting. 28 over sine of 53 degrees. So again, you do this thing on a calculator. All numbers that we are using are nice numbers, so chance of errors is low. Just divide 28 by sine of 53. Make sure your angle is in degrees, or whatever the unit is given in the problem, and you should be good to go. So what's the story here again? Solving a triangle. A triangle has many pieces. Solving means use some of the given information to find the missing information. It's also straightforward example of that is a right triangle, and these are the formulas we use to find the missing information. One advice was to always use the information that is given at the beginning of the problem to avoid round-off issues or entering numbers incorrectly. Okay, until next time, good luck and God bless.